Hello students, today you're going to take notes on light and electricity. Go ahead and set up your notebook. Remember to have your summary and your advanced question at the end and the questions on the left hand side. In this video I will lecture first and then you have time to do the notes at your own speed. Alright, let's begin. First, let's talk about how light and electricity, heat, all these are just different types of energy. Energy moves from one type to another. In this video we'll focus how light is made from electricity. So a long time ago, Thomas Edison was one of the first inventors of the commercially sold light bulb. He made light bulbs much more commonplace, but there were other scientists who were also experimenting and trying to create lights from electricity. The key was creating a filament, which is this part here, that could last a relatively long time. Other inventors had filaments that would burn out relatively quickly. He used a carbonized filament of bamboo that lasted much longer and made it much more readily available for people to buy and use at home. Now this could be different kinds of incandescent light bulbs. So this type of bulb is called incandescent. As you can see, this one has a much longer filament. One of the problems with incandescent light though is that they create actually a lot more heat than light. So if you're trying to use a source of heat, these light bulbs can be good, but mostly they create much more heat than they do light. So nowadays it's kind of hard to find these kind of bulbs to light your home. Before we continue on how exactly does an incandescent light bulb make light, let's review the idea of conductors and insulators. Remember, a conductor such as silver, gold, or copper allows electrons to flow fully or a lot easier. Insulators, usually like rubber and glass, they restrict the flow of electrons. A semiconductor is somewhere in between. Semiconductors, like the lead in your pencil, allow electrons through, but usually you need a higher temperature or a higher amount of voltage to allow those electrons to go through. The filament that Edison used, that was a semiconductor. So the way incandescent light bulbs work is the filament is made of a material such as a semiconductor that allows electrons through, but as the electrons travel through, they create lots of heat and light. And the reason why is because when electrical current is introduced, the extra electrons causes some of the atoms in the semiconductor to move up in electron shells, let's say from the second electron shell to the third, allowing these particles of light called photons to be released. And sometimes light acts as these particles of light called photons, and sometimes it acts as waves. Since Edison's times, we have used different types of light sources. There's also compact fluorescents, which usually have this like twist design in the glass, and they usually are made of like gases like argon and mercury. One of the drawbacks though is that this type of light is actually it's a lot more efficient, so I guess that's a positive or a pro. But the drawback is that sometimes these gases, when they leak out, it can be kind of poisonous, like mercury, although usually there's very, very little mercury, so it's usually not a problem, but it can be, because mercury, as you can see, can be poisonous. Now, much more recent invention are LCDs and LEDs. LCDs, like these here, and LEDs, I'm sorry, and LCDs. LCDs like liquid crystal display, and LEDs are light emitting diodes. These also release photons just like compact fluorescent and also incandescent, but they're a lot more efficient. So let's say you're like your phone, doesn't matter if it's Android or Apple, they usually use LCD screens, and they are a lot more efficient in creating light, and they create some heat as well, but not as much as incandescent lights are. Right, that's the end of the lecture part. Now here are the notes for today. There we are. Go ahead and copy your notes, and then I'll move on to the next thing on the agenda. Have a good day.